as you know, Materials for the Arts is New York City's premier reuse facility, and we literally collect tons of leftover materials that we donate to artists and art organizations and schools to make art possible in New York City. But we couldn't do this without the amazing artists that do artwork with these reused materials. So every month we have this program where we chat with an artist and get into what they do with the materials available to them. And tonight we're super glad and lucky to be joined by the artist known as John Landewe. And he's an artist that makes art in the tradition of Bruce Nauman, Andy Goldsworthy, with the materials around him, performance artist, a video artist. We're going to go into more detail, but John, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And John, you're muted, so don't forget to unmute yourself. Good. Thanks for joining us, John.
Thank you, John. It's a real pleasure being here. I appreciate it.
So 2 Johns this evening. That's always an interesting occasion. It seems like you're joining us from a mysterious location.
I'm Fireside in New Hampshire. There, I'll see if I can get to the fire. Wow. This is my living room up here. It's my favorite place to be, out on the pond. It's a little chilly, but if I snuggle up to the fire, it's nice.
Wow.
And plus, I also have a little bit of Shetland wool from Materials for the Arts here. That's going to keep me cozy.
Well, thanks for bringing us to your fireside. It's kind of like your videos. So the story, folks, the best I could describe it is my experience is you know, all of a sudden I start getting these periodic texts from this artist, John Landewe, and he's a neighbor of mine, but we weren't really too close of friends. He started sending me texts, and the texts were short videos of him having gone to kind of natural locations and doing these time-lapse videos of him doing like yoga poses or putting laundry on a clothesline or finding natural materials and making things out of it. And I just thought it was so interesting. I started realizing that he was sending these to lots and lots of people. And the traditional way that we experience video is like, you know, on TV or like in this type of interface, but he was challenging those traditional ways by presenting his video in very non-traditional ways. And I think especially during this time period where we're using these different interfaces, I thought it was very meaningful, you know, John, to talk to you and to hear more about your practice and your reasons for doing that, because I think it's interesting for all of us to think about, you know, what we have around us, what we can do with it, how we can make art with what's available to us. Yeah. So, but before we chat, I just wanted to play a couple videos. So, you know, making many videos, I think you're pretty prolific with these, and you have these little poems that go along with them. But for right now, I'm just going to play 3 of them, and then maybe we can play some more. And folks, we're going to have a chance for you to ask some questions in a bit as well. So we're going to play some videos. Wow. So it's just so simple yet beautiful, bringing us into nature. And in the end, that was that the Gowanus Canal that in Brooklyn there in the end?
Yeah, that's
I never.
yeah, over there on Fourth Street. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to see them all together. They're um, they're improvised, um, um, for a kind for noticing, like noticing a cat carcass in the Gowanus. Um, but that sort of started with the first chronological video was the ash tree, the desk in the ash, excuse me, the desk in the hemlock tree as an observation post or classroom for the ash tree where the camera is set up right next to it. It's the one that would look like a finger going up
Yeah,
into the,
you're kind of pointing it at the camera.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, extraordinary. But to just turn this device onto a canopy of a forest and get to see how the whole thing shudders and moves with the wind. Um, changing perspective of the tree by climbing up another tree to look at it from its sort of uh, from its middle. Um,
So look, here's my first just question. I
yeah,
would be interested to hear you talk about. So I mean, so you art degree from NYU, you've done the Skowhegan residency and all the traditional things, but now you choose to put your art in such a non-traditional way. I find it so refreshing and so inspiring. I know one of the things that you spend a lot of time doing is like going on almost these like excursions where you like get on a
yeah,
bike or a walk or a canoe or
yeah,
something. You go to a
yeah,
place and then you set up these,
yeah,
make these videos, you do something, you build it into your life, you're finding these natural materials.
yeah.
um I just, if you could just talk about just a little bit about why you do that,
Well, uh, for the past 10 years, I've been a stay-at-home dad, and so it means a lot of time around home. And um, the practice, you said the word excursion, which is uh, the way that I like to describe these trips out. Oftentimes they're trips out for errands, running errands. I'll use it as a way to work out a little bit. Um, but it's a way of concentrating outside. It's a way of it's serendipitous. It's sort of like looking for seashells on the beach. You end up noticing things. I look for trash on the river, and you get to see. You'll find an alligator snapping turtle trapped in a root wad. But it's the serendipity of kind of looking for one thing to find another. Um, and it's refreshing. I think it's really for the past 9 months, especially, finding refreshment has been um, uh, a uh, a real blessing to be able to find that. And um, being outside is a refreshment that's not, you're not ignoring anything uh, outside. You can't because the weather is there and uh, um, it doesn't care. Um, um,
So, but when you're going on these excursions,
yeah,
you're saying in a way, that these are just the excursions of your life, the chores, the errands, etc. So
yeah.
it's
There's,
almost like
oh,
you're
there's
honoring the practice of like almost like kind of elevating the daily practice through this like intentional
yeah. That's not.
artisticnness or something.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
There's not the I think to speak to the intention. You know, I like I like making these and I send them to friends and family that I think will like them. and they don't, and you don't have to respond. I've sent enough to everybody that they're like, they can either ignore it, and that's fine, and everybody gets their own 3-word caption, and that's also refreshing. Those 3 words, and I think of them as kind of a triangulating, meaning, out of 3 words. You sort of can create a position of 3 words, triangulating a position in orienteering on a map. But this is sort of a way of providing a something to grab onto, a little stem. Maybe the way to think about it is sort of like sending out a little flower for friends and family. Just to sort of say, here's it looks jerky, but it's kind of, it's funny to see. What I still love seeing it is what it looks like when I hold a position for an excruciating amount of time. It can hurt after a while, and I have to really be challenged to sort of not hold. I can really discover where I'm holding, where in my body I'm holding and how I'm holding, and that to me is a real gift. But it's hilarious how it just looks like I'm just tossing this tree around, but it's a giant ash tree that's like 30 feet long, and finding a place to balance on it and hold it for a while. Uh, it's a real fun trick.
And it looks like you play the drums on it a little bit. You kind of walk
Yeah,
down it a little. You play the
trees.
drums.
Well, listen, I could talk a little bit about ash trees, especially these driftwood ash trees. They are spectacular. This thing can hold its own weight. It could hold my weight, and it's nothing more than 4 inches wide and 30 feet long. It's incredibly strong. It's an incredible material, and when it's tuned like that as driftwood, it just makes these crazy noises. I mean, it's a xylophone, really. Yeah, whenever I find a piece of ash on the bank, I've always got to tap and see what sound it'll give, because I don't know. Once you become smitten with an ash, the ash tree, you fall in love. You never.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can't pass up a beautiful limb like that, for sure. A trunk. But
So
I wanted to.
you're finding things.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a constantly trolling. I mean, it's as Jessica, my wife, will tell you. I pick up a lot of stuff off the street. Um, I think in terms of seeking a practice of refreshment and something that fits into my life. And finding a way that's entertaining, and provides insight. It's been a long time coming inside, and I've been inside too long
Hmm.
to I can't spend too much time indoors.
Yeah, I noticed all your videos. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. You got to get outside.
I got to get outside. Yeah, yeah,
We all
yeah,
got to get outside, man.
yeah.
Listen, I
It's
feel
scary.
like that's what's inspiring about this.
Yeah, yeah. The scare. Uh, they're uh, uh, they're jaunty. They're fun. Um, uh, I I also I would also have to speak a little bit to um, exposure, being exposed, and it's um, it's an aspect of turning the camera on outside and waiting, holding position, being still outside. Yeah, you don't know what the temperature is, and holding a pose outside, holding a position outside, really has taught me a lot about a lot of the asymmetries that I have in my. That's Ward's Island out at Hell's Gate right there. And you can see all the LaGuardia airplanes taking off like every 5 minutes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's a wonderful spot. Ward's Island is a favorite. Just
It's
a
great.
wild place.
It's so cool to see how you've used video as a way of, you know, capturing these experiences, this I have a question. Notice this one is kind of horizontal, but a lot of them are shot at a diagonal. What's up with that?
Yeah, I don't really. I think I don't really know. I think the it's a little bit of a um, a a a, uh, it kind of a square implies that I'm building some sort of frame around me, or like there's a building of posts and lintel.
Hmm.
And really what we're looking at here is a slice of old um, old it's a slice of energy that we're just peeling off, and now it's being stored on a server and going into a server. So it's not we're not building something. It's more of a slicing. It's a nibble. All these videos are little nibbles, like they're using up little energy, and they're it's been sucked out of the earth, or it's been taken from a stream, or from the wind. But it's not a static thing. It's a slice of something. And I'm kind of obsessed with this triangle, this kind of vector idea. And I'm not sure. I really haven't. It's what it is. Actually, it's pretty simple. I spend a lot of time aiming with this camera. So, and crosshairs, um, uh, 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 putting something on the point, all of that sort of concentration. Uh, uh, Pointing at something rather than framing at something. Maybe. I don't know. And the other thing too is folding things into squares and then folding things into triangles. It's curious because I like the way that a piece of cloth can be a square, and then at the diagonal, sort of rolled up, it becomes kind of a rope, kind of a tie, and then you can is sort of trying to dress appropriately. So I've just yeah. Lots of
I like
laundry.
the beautiful arrangement though, in this natural environment, and then the human body moving around. So simple, so chill, so restrained,
Yeah.
but like so cool,
Yeah, it's a way of uh, I don't know if domestic chores are inherently charming, but they can be uh, with the right intention and not having to rush. It is interesting to see the rushing around. It's funny, this one, I don't remember this one.
It's beautiful. So such
I
a
forgot what I've sent along.
such a statement, though.
Yeah, I think was that Jessica that just showed up in there? I'm sorry, Jess. I didn't know that you were in the videos there. I should need to be careful who's in. What am I doing here?
Oh, that's awesome.
Um,
It always kind of ends with that like Beastie Boys pose, you know. But like that's awesome. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. No, I have a question. So, I mean, in here, you know, is there kind of an intention? You're talking about getting outside and stuff like that. I
yeah,
mean, you know, material arts, we think about the environment. You know, we're thinking about the
yeah,
environment. What are
yeah.
your thoughts about your art and its impact on that kind of thing?
Well, that's for the real inspiring thing about the materials for the arts, and also for me to have a practice that doesn't um, necessarily include materials, but obviously I'm moving a lot of things around, and you know, like wood or clothing or sweeping, a lot of sweeping, you know, and and seeing what's out in the environment, you know, seeing what's possible for playing, you know, just improvising a way of playing. You know, balancing something heavy, finding a little bit of beach you know, take a piece of driftwood and spin around or carry it above your head and balance it on. You know, there's my favorite, you know, like finding a favorite stick. You know, this is a marvelous and my dad can attest to this. Beaver know how to pick out the best sticks, and finding a good beaver stick, a really strong, can carry your weight, but it's only 3/4 of an inch. This is a, I mean, you know, this is a bit of ash, and it's you know, I think being able to appreciate a tree, you know, maybe it's sort of like, you know, love lost, you know, but I think finding things like this, um, uh, it's the greatest tool for invention, you know, in and I think that improvising um, uh, a way out, let's say. And now, I want to also, I want to toast for um, tonight. It's been 21 years with my lovely wife tonight. Cheers,
Oh,
cheers. Yeah.
that's beautiful.
I, I've
Congratulations.
Thank you. I think finding a way of putting energy back into the house,
Mm.
positive, reinforcing good nature, the good vibe within the
Mhm.
house is really hard right now. It's really hard. And the pressures and the feeling of isolation that we've um, we've gotten ourselves into a cul-de-sac a little bit. We've decided to not have any leadership, and maybe we'll have leadership on putting energy into where it matters, into our home, into our the life of our loved ones. And excursing allows me to not just have more energy because I run, you know, just straight up run, ride a bike, but it's also what's your range? Where do you live? You know, you and I have gone on some lovely walks, and there's so much to know. There's so much to note, so much to notice, and then it's not all good. It's not all. Uh, some of the things I've noticed are absolutely terrifying. Um, but it's one of those things to know that um, in order to keep my family strong, I need to know um, where does our strength lie, and what is the test of that strength? And the test is huge. Being outside for so long and for so many years, trying to notice and understand, where is the ash tree? How are we going to survive without the ash tree? How are we going to survive without monarch or frogs, or the hemlock tree? And it's one of those things that I don't want to ignore those questions. I also challenge. It's a challenge, I think, for the words. The words are the challenge. How do we describe what we're living through right now?
But you mean like
Very
specifically
clear,
like
and
the
clear.
danger
It's
danger
clearly.
to the environment? Like
What's
the
that?
danger to, like specifically like the danger to the environment that we're seeing?
Well, it's really the danger to our own heart. That's the climate change started in our heart, and that's where it will be healed. That's where it'll be solved.
Mm.
And being as clear as possible. That's why I really love the word part, and everyone who's received one of the videos gets their own 3-word poem, because it's the and it's not a poem. It's a way of capturing something for a moment, that it's meant to be as clear as possible. Just it's the that's where I think that's what that's why I appreciate you having me here. Is the challenge it provokes for me is that I haven't thought about these as art. I haven't thought about them as something that it'd only be consumed by the person that I just sent it to, and however they do that, they do that. Friends
Well,
and
I think
family,
it's
so they
I
have
think
to
I think they're beautiful, and we're super glad to have you. And I think it really is just meaningful to show and inspiring that, this idea that we can all map and kind of explore our environment by just getting out there and like document it and making videos, and then this idea that you can share those with your community, and that can be a really, like you said, I think I don't know, maybe refreshing, or it's kind of
yeah
strengthening,
yeah
something we need right now. So
yeah.
we got some questions. People are tuning in here. um Joey Leader says, John,
Jody,
your video.
hi
She
Jody.
says, John. Okay, you guys. John, your video work is wonderfully ephemeral, like dance, and your figure in many of the videos moves like a dancer. Has that art form been an influence? Has dance been an influence?
It's an old one. I've always seen it whenever I can live. It's not easy to do, obviously. Um, um, it
But
has.
the human body's in there.
Yeah,
Your body.
yeah. Well, the residencies you talked about with Skohegan, I uh, I started doing yoga there. One of the
Hmm.
teachers there, she's one of the artists there, and the librarian, where she was a dancer, and she taught a class, and yeah, that was my first introduction, was art. And must have gone in for a yeah. This is a if the time lapse. The great thing about a time lapse is if you do it slowly enough, um, it can look kind of graceful. I would I I'm more interested in the idea of holding a pose, because I think for for domestic chores, it's a lot of holding things. and also for carpentry, you're holding, you're like my brother describes his left hand as his clamp. He clamps with his left hand and then he saws with his right. So there's a lot of holding like that. And I think that more than dance, it's sort of searching for the asymmetry, or not searching for the asymmetry. It's because it's there. It's acknowledging it and understanding the asymmetry. So as far as dance, it's really, for me, I think one of the most refreshing forms of dance is a jig, just swinging those knees around, and just loosening them up, getting in different directions, not the directions you should put them in, but especially if if you've been doing a lot of crouching or kneeling, it's refreshing. So in terms of presentation, I'm reticent. It's of course it's dance. Yes, of course it's to me it's a celebration of all the asymmetries and all the broke down stuff of my own, and yeah, I've taken my licks, and this is as good as the form is going to get. But yeah, I love dance. I love. I was just watching Trisha Brown. Yeah, and she sort of leads with her right. Yeah.
I have just a reminder to those folks joining us. You're right now sitting next to a campfire, right?
Oh yeah.
So like you're in the woods right now, like in a camp.
This is my my wife's parents' house in New Hampshire.
Beautiful.
And we've been coming here for as long as we've been together. So this place is more it's just as familiar to me, or if not more familiar than where I grew up in Missouri. So this I still am learning so much. We just saw it's on a pond. We just saw for the first time invasive jellyfish from the Yangtze River in the pond.
Wow.
Jellyfish is incredible. Yeah.
Crazy.
But also, there's so many discoveries. It's such a beautiful. This is the headwaters of the Kentucky River, which starts here and heads off northeast. This direction, and we're kind of on the very end of it. So look this way, up northeast. I'm basically going down the Kentucky Valley. It's extraordinary.
I just love the idea that for you, nature and your zone includes both a New York area and that kind of environment, all the way to this really like rural type of. There's questions here, more questions for people. So MK asks, how do you feel about working in these very different locations? One extremely rural and the other super urban. Is one more fluid for you than the other? And P.S. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's
happy birthday. All right.
Nice. Thanks, Michelle. The difference between the great thing about either place is I think listening to a world without our noise in it. After everything shut down with COVID, no airplane traffic, right? Just kind of magical here, but in New York as well. There's a lot more eyes in New York, people, and it's great to be unself-conscious in front of and to not to have to be self-conscious in front of other people. So it's easier that way. And I don't know really how I appear. I could appear a little suspicious, perhaps, in the city, especially with a mask on. But yeah, the good thing is I can juggle. So anytime I'm doing something weird, like balancing a log, up in the air, and I turn around and there's a woman with a stroller, I could just start juggling, and it's like, oh, he's a clown, so I can camouflage my activity a little bit, like
Oh, I see. You're saying you feel like weirder in the city just because you're
yeah,
doing
well,
these
yeah,
like things and people
yeah,
are watching you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's cool though. Like I feel like in New York, you like that's why I love living in New York. You can like get away with that stuff.
Yeah. No,
But
it's
it's
nice,
still,
and
yeah.
it's also really cool to see during like I have my favorite spot at the pier, and you know I'm so used to going there. You're kind of like, hey, this is my spot. But what's nice is that there's, like, for example, the last time I was there was this what looked to me like I don't know if they're a professional dancer, but someone who was well trained in dance was just practicing their moves out on a blanket. It was
Oh,
extraordinary.
yeah.
Yeah, it was so great. I think a lot of stuff is the real promise for me of putting stuff out in the um, improvising uh, movement in a public place
Mm.
that really shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? Like what kind of it, why? Why not? What's wrong with that? Um, I think being able to change, what's sort of acceptable in terms of what your body does in a particular place is important, especially right now with being able to um, you know let your uh, let it loose. Um,
True.
it's yeah.
I,
It's
I,
yeah.
yeah. Well, there's just questions coming in from people here. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to get a chance to
Thank you.
ask you someone. So Plasticrat wants to know, they said, have you ever made any videos that have to do with the domestic sphere you inhabit as a stay-at-home dad sometimes? I see stacking of wood. How about
Yeah.
laundry or cleaning dishes?
Oh
Like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
We saw the laundry video actually there.
Yeah.
But just that idea, I guess, about
No, I made a
being
lot.
a
I did it.
father,
I
you were
didn't send any of
explaining.
those. I didn't send it like with the um uh yeah, there's a lot around that. There's a lot around the house, Um um
I mean, I found that it's like instead you're reusing the wood you find, but you're also reusing just these experiences with your around the house. It's kind of
yeah,
beautiful.
around the house it's good because you know when you have a task around the house, you're like, okay, all right, gotta mop it. Gotta mop that.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of like, and then what I can do is be like, okay, no, let's turn this into a thing. How about just turn it into a thing, and like, okay, let's we'll turn on a little music, we'll put the camera over here, and then I'll start playing around with something. I mean, it's not terrible. It can be less. Let's just say like maybe 15% less efficient. Let's just say that. Maybe that's generous. But taking that extra little 15% to sort of just be like, have a little joy to the mundane, to the laundry folding. Maybe everything's going to be folded in triangles today.
It's awesome. It's
You know what I
inspiring.
mean.
It's
You know what I mean.
inspiring.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
got another question. Matt asks, what are your most essential tools? I know you're a builder, besides the videos, this all comes from a process. You build things out of wood. I know you're building a canoe right now, maybe, or something, perhaps as a memory.
Well, yeah.
But either way, what would be some essential tools for you?
Well, besides the love of my family, I feel confident with. I really feel so good with a stick. I feel so good. I mean, it's you know that song, "The Old Bamboo" from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I think they're talking about the ash. They could be talking about bamboo, but this wood, it's like bone. It's kind of, I think, I don't know this, but it in terms of teaching me balance, poise, strength. There's nothing like an ash tree in terms of, like, it has these little bends in it, those little like corrugations, and it branches off, symmetrically. There's so much to learn from this tree. Even a little sapling has this incredible wisdom. I would start there. I think it's a handle. I think I would start with the most important tool is the handle, whatever the tool is. Yeah, yeah.
Is the ash is in danger right now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the scary part, I think, about this. The thing that fear is a great way to focus our energy. My energy. It's also can be haunting and quite disturbing, and it can induce frustration and anger, which I would ask for forgiveness. But it's the amount that the scariest thing about losing the ash is how silently it's going. There's no national task force on what are we going to do without the ash tree. They're like, that's terrifying to me, that we're just going to watch this thing die. Like, it's terrifying.
And it's dying from invasive beetles or something?
It's dying from neglect. Just dying from nobody's watching. Nobody noticing. No, I mean, we're powerful creatures. We could save the ash tree. I don't know how. We just have to decide. I would say I'd rather have the ash tree than a house on Mars. Let's just say that. If we could put our energy to to understanding the value of this, and it's the ash tree's not alone. The ash tree is just a charismatic feature of the forest. There's frogs and little tiny little creatures that nobody will notice at all. But the ash tree is a good one because it's so gorgeous and beautiful. I'm a big ash booster. I would say that this project really starts with that. But I don't want to go on about the ash, but we could talk.
No. Well, I think everyone knows of an ash tree near them that was really beautiful and huge that suddenly died recently, and it's an example. You're right. It's a bellwether, So here, Gary wonders, with enough time and good weather, could you canoe from Pier 6 in Brooklyn to the pond there?
Oh,
and if so, he'd like to see time-lapse video of that.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. No, that's
okay.
With your help, Gary. We can for naval architecture. New York City is really there's old footage of New York City, and you can see all the docks and all the barges and all the piers and all the ships. And New York City just was, all of its little fingers were out in the ocean facing. Everything came into the ocean, and then the history. You could look at the history of New York through the history of its relationship to the water. The Gowanus Canal and every wild place in New York City is being corrugated as a protection, as a line against the wilderness that Sandy exposed us to. And it's still there. The wilderness hasn't gone anywhere. We've put up a little fake line around it, but it's still there, and it's powerful. And I take a route down in Red Hook now. After a storm, there was a crack that now fits my wheel, of my bicycle in it, an inch and a half. Like in the Gowanus Canal, the engineers have decided that that's the height of where the ocean's going to be, and nobody knows that. So it's an incredible. There's so many amazing contradictions about our relationship to the water. But water is the clearest line, the delineation of wildness.
So folks, please, if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat. We'd love to, ask John any questions you have. And John, thanks for joining us. I mean, one thing that I'm interested in is just this idea again of how you've so creatively, even right now, like I'm talking to you and you've like successfully done this thing where you're like turning the camera on its side and things like that. So I just think it was so great, just how you're able to utilize even just this medium of video in such a creative way to capture something, and it's inspiring to me. Oh, here's another great video. I love this video. Just walking along, following a string.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I haven't I think I think what Gary asked was a vehicle for understanding something. And for example, the time lapse on the camera. Oh yeah,
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a little bit
the ash.
Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah, no, is that the one that I think I'm holding? It might be the one I'm holding right now. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this was a lovely day. Warm rain. Really coming down.
And like it's a little jerky sometimes, like it's clicking because of the reception, but that's kind of adding a cool quality to it.
Yeah. Yeah, the wonder of this, this device, the simplest thing I haven't looked into. I don't know how many frames per second that is, or, yeah, that's. You recognize who that is? Yeah, that's a Gormley, isn't it? Gormley, is that his thing, his sculpture? You have to look that up. I can't remember who that was.
Oh, the layers of metal, though.
Yeah, it's a lot of aluminum tube.
It's like a lot of times I'm thinking about collage, finding different scraps of paper. What do I have around my house I can use?
Yeah.
And here you're visually utilizing objects and just experiences in your collage.
Yeah, seeing what's there, seeing what appears in the camera, seeing what appears the shadow there, and lining things up. Aiming, is a fun way to look at it. It's a sort of aiming device. Yeah, and I really appreciate the opportunity to have to be able to reflect on these, because they're fleeting, and they're little informal you know, flowers that are, I'm I'm not sure where they're going. I'm not sure where they came from. Um, I find, you know, I find so much enjoyment and discovery in making them. Um, it's also wonderful to hear that other people find them fascinating. That to me is just an incredible gift. Uh, what that they can provide. I um I don't know if they solve any problems. I don't know if they, you know, for me, you know, I don't think, I don't know if, you know, they don't make me a better person. Um, they're, they're, um, finding out, you know, just you can continually finding out all that, all that I don't know. Over and over again.
I feel like right now that's something that is a common experience for most of us. You know, we're all we're all in this kind of meditational retreat of our
It's such an
minds.
it really is an opportunity. This is incredible opportunity uh for things just going by the wayside, for sure. Um yeah,
Well,
yeah.
well, I'm inspired. You know, now folks, take a bike ride, take a run, take a walk, find some interesting nature, do your own yoga, dance. You know, make the people on the picnic blanket nearby nervous. See if we can do that. So John, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been so
Thank
exciting chatting with you. I've been meaning to have you on the show for a while, and
I
folks,
really appreciate it.
yeah, you know, I think everybody enjoyed seeing you. And thanks for joining
Thank
us,
you everybody
everybody.
and taking your time out.
Um,
Appreciate it.
yeah, so basically, you know, everybody, you can always log in. We're always having once a month an artist interview for Materials for the Arts. And again, tonight we're lucky enough to meet with John Landewe. So, John, have a good evening, and everyone, good night. Until
Thanks,
we see
John.
you again. Goodbye.